Alright, let's do the legs now. So let's take another locator, this guy, and let's move him over to somewhere where he can be easily grabbed and accessible. And let's rename him Control R leg controls. And let's change its display to a plane. Oh yeah, we want him to be solid. Let's say something like that. And align to view. Cool. Let's now duplicate him and move him to the opposite side. There we go. We have two of them. I'm gonna get rid of the extra locator there. Okay, so let's see what we're going to create as channels on these guys. So let's go back to our schematic and let's go to the leg rigs and let's see what we have here. So we have here these two nodes, the shin twist bias and thigh twist bias, and this leg blend value, which is the IKFK for the leg. And do we have anything else in the feet workspace? No. This one has nothing we have to worry about. So let's go back to the legs workspace. Okay, so let's create the first channel. You can either create them from the user channels tab or directly in the channels list. It's exactly the same thing. Let's call this one what did we call it on the arms? I just want to make sure I use the same naming convention. Arm blending FKIK. Okay, so now we would have leg blending FKIK. Let's do that. Leg blending FKIK. And it's a minimum of 0, maximum of 1. There we go. And now let's create the same channel on the other locator. Sorry. Okay, and now we need the shin twist bias and the thigh twist bias. So let's add first a divider. Called advanced controls on both sides. I'm gonna copy this one. This guy, paste it there, get rid of the space. There we go. And now we can add the I'm sorry, thigh bias and shin bias. I'm gonna start with the thigh just because in my mind the thigh goes before the shin. So let's call this one thigh twist bias, and it's going to be a float, also going from 0 to 1, and the default value for this one is 0.8, actually 0.9. Sorry, that's what I have here in this channel modifier. So there you go, and let's create it on this guy. And now we create the shin. And this guy is 0.8. And we create the same channel on the other side. Okay. Okay, now it's time to wire them up. So let's select both items, bring them into the schematic. There they are. So this side is for the left side, which is this friend right here, and we have the right side over here. All right. And actually, well, I'm gonna have to put them over here because we have this guy right there. Sorry. So let's start with the FK IK value. Let's make sure this guy is at 0. So we're just going to wire our FK IK blending value over to this node, and then we're going to wire our Shin twist bias to, I believe it's this guy right there, and we're going to wire this guy over here. Okay, and now we're gonna take care of this other locator right there. So the IKFK goes here, and then this is the Shin, and this one is the thigh. Just going to better position this. Well, this one is not going to be easy, but well, whatever. There it is. Shin thigh. Let's rename this one. It's not the calf, it's Shin. There you go. So now that everything is plugged, let's put it to the test. Let's use our little test animation here. Not much we can do with the legs right there, so we're gonna have to test it manually. Let me first hide the shield. There we go. And let's go get the leg controls. The other leg controls, I guess. And let's rotate this control. Oh well, this is for the IK. Well, it's a good chance to also test the IK. So let's go here and let's start blending the IK in. And it works as expected. Sorry. And let's try the deformation bias. As you can see, this is what our leg looks like right now. So let's start with the Shin. If we reduce this, our deformations are more weighted towards the foot. If we increase it, they're more weighted towards the upper knee. Well, not upper knee, the knee right there. And we can also play around with the thigh bias. Reducing it brings everything more in line with the knee. Increasing it moves everything more in line with the leg. So everything is working correctly. Let's reset this guy's rotation, and we can hide the rig. So all that would be left would be to create the same thing, some channel controls, and also to constrain these guys onto something. And I think that I'm going to do it directly onto the hip joint, just because they're going to be able to follow the character without necessarily moving with the legs, which I wouldn't like. So let's just dynamically parent them to the hips. Let's just make sure they're here. Okay, perfect. Compensation. So let's select the first one. Add parent. And then the second one. And add parent. Okay. Let's also color them. And I'm gonna do more or less the same I had done with these guys. Sorry, it's not exactly the same color, but it still conveys the idea. Oh yeah, they're channel sets. So let's select this guy, go to the user channels, select these three. Let's make sure in the channel list that's the only thing I have selected. Oh, of course the divider too. And let's go to our groups tab. Let's call this leg R global controls. Okay, so we get this. And let's create the same for this guy. You can skip this part if you're not using the channel sets approach. You can just go directly and assign the channel hall tool to be selected whenever you select these locators. There we go. And now let's get the commands for these guys. There it is. Let's copy that. And let's select leg R. Go to the assembly. Enter that as a command. There we have it. And let's select leg L. Select this, and now select this, enter the command. Cool. We're done. We're done with the legs. So let's continue wiring some other stuff to other controls for our character to be able to have different animation behaviors in the next video. Okay, let's do the controls for the torso of the character. So I'm going to grab the next locator, rename it to control center, spine, and, well, actually not spine, torso, and head controls. We're going to use one for both parts of the character if needed. I don't expect us to have that many controls on this item. Let's move him up and change its display. Actually, he already has a custom display type already set, just to save some time. He should be okay there. All right, and let's create the channels we're gonna need for it. So what do we have to wire using this guy? So this is our spine workspace, and we should have this spine bias control, which is an advanced control, but we're going to need to drive it. And sorry, here's our stretch control. So we have those two, and that's pretty much it. We just need those two channels. So let's do that. Let's go into our user channels for this item, and let's add first the torso stretch control. and this one is going to be going from 0 to 1. Okay, then we're going to add a spine bias control, and this one goes from -1 to 1. You're gonna see why in a second. I guess you remember from when we were setting up the spine, but if not, you'll see. And lastly, we're gonna add our advanced controls divider. Now we just grab the divider and move it up in the channels list, and that's it. So let's bring in our item here. So here's the spine bias. We just wire that onto this guy, making sure that the default value is 0. And now for the stretch, these guys are actually inverted. We have a control that is called torso stretch, and when this guy is 0, there will be no stretching, but when he is 1, the torso will stretch. And this guy does the opposite. When he is 1, there is no stretching, and when he is 0, there is some stretching. So let's test it out by grabbing the torso control. Let's move it over there. So what we need to do is, we can't wire this directly. We need to invert the values, and to do that, you already know how to do that. It's pretty easy. We just need a math subtract node, and we're gonna subtract 1 minus the value we actually get from this control, and then we wire that over here. So we have a value of 0 for the torso stretch, which is no stretching. We set it to 1, then we have stretching. And then the animator could use, if he wants, the bias control to control the curvature of the torso, as you see here. How the torso curves to the pose he's trying to hit. So we're gonna leave it at 0 also, and that's pretty much it. We're done with the torso controls for our character, and let's just place this guy in a better spot because he's not moving right now. Sorry. So let's see, what are we going to attach him to? I don't want him to move with the head though, only with the torso. So let's find a nice spot along the torso hierarchy. Let's find this guy. So he has spine. We have this neck attach end, but we're using that just to plug another rig component. So I think I'm going to use spine 07 as this guy's dynamic parent. So this guy's selected. Now spine 07, we add it as a parent. Sorry. And again, we just color him. And there they are. And you could actually give them some text if you wanted a label floating up there. I prefer not to have labels on the items. You can just enter it here, but that just increases the amount of complexity you're gonna have in your viewports. But that's up to you. So, and that's it. We're done with the torso controls. So now that we have pretty much everything wired up, let's take a look at how our rig is behaving so far. Okay, let's do a little reality check with our rig here. And I've noticed that there might have been a couple of features that we missed during the rigging process, but that's okay. You'll always find that there are times where you missed something or a new behavior needs to be implemented into the rig. So you need to be able to do that at any point in time during the rigging process. So even though we're finishing the rig and working on the UI, we could go back and tweak a few things that you found that maybe are not working as nicely as you would like them to, or implement new things. So I'm going to show you one of those right now. I'm going to take as an example the torso. And I've noticed that we have these FK controls, right? These ring-looking locators that we can use to rotate the torso like so. So that's great. We can pose our character. However, we lack a control to rotate the torso at the base. So if the character needed to bend over, for example, he wouldn't be able to do that right now because there's no control for that at all. We have this control right here, but this one all just moves the base of the torso without moving the rest of it. So this is more of an IK related control, like this one over here, which does exactly the same but for the upper part of the torso. So we're going to work on these two things. The first thing I'm going to do is to reflect what this guy does a little bit better. I'm going to change its wire color to this one over here so it matches and it's more intuitive for the animator to know that these two are related. So I'm going to copy that color. And that will give a much better idea that this control is related to this one. And let's make him a little bit bigger so he's easier to select now that the belt is showing. Okay, and now we need a control, as we mentioned, for this guy to rotate at the base of the torso. So I'm going to select this control and go find it in the items list, and he's right here. And I can see that its parent is this rig FK spine start control, which is a locator in here. And let's see what happens if I just rotate this guy directly. Well, that seems to get me exactly what I was looking for. Rotation at the base of the torso. So I think we're going to use this to rotate the torso of the character. Fortunately, it doesn't look like there's any crucial dependencies on that, so otherwise I would need to create a special control and reparent things and stuff like that, but it looks like I can just go ahead and reuse this guy. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to change its display shape onto a circle, and it's going to be pointing up on Y, and we're going to make him a lot bigger, something like that. Let's rename him to control FK spine, and yeah, we're going to leave it at that. Start. There we go. And let's make sure that it has the same color as the other controls. And now it's very obvious that we have these torso controls, and this guy will rotate the character at its base. I'm sorry. So that's working quite nicely. In the next video, we're going to take a look at another thing that we can add to our rig for it to be easier to animate.